Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS Slate Breakdown for Thursday, August 10th. We are back. We got a four-gamer today, so it is a quick little slate. But as always, we will dive into it. We're going to start with first a quick rundown of yesterday's slate, and then followed by pitcher ownership for today's slate and stacks to consider. But before we get into it, come join us at LineStar. It's only $29.99. Gets you access to all of our props, the whole props AI tool for all the sports we cover, as well as DFS, the projections, all the tools, optimizer. You get it all. You also get access to the chat, which has been a really good time, just hanging out with everybody, kicking around DFS ideas, and talking sports. All right, now let's get into the fun for today. So we will get over to that perfect lineup for yesterday. So we had Gausman and Clevenger as the two pitchers and all one-offs. We almost did take all the salary, but once again, it was all one-offs. We didn't really have too many teams really separate themselves yesterday from the pack, and when that happens, it tends to be a one-off type of day. However, the winners are still heavily correlated. So we got five-man White Sox stack with Darvish and Gausman. So it took some chalk with pitching, but got real different with the White Sox. White Sox were absolutely a stack I liked. The reason being is we talked about Severino a little bit on DK as a pitcher that I do like. However, we also talked about how it's a high variance spot, and he hasn't been good lately. He was just so cheap yesterday that it made me consider him. But once again, he got shelled. So BYH 101 got it done with that stack. Now, let's get into FanDuel. So FanDuel, we got Gausman, we got one-offs, and the winning lineup was Gausman with a four-man White Sox and four-man Brave stack. Both stacks we liked yesterday. The Atlanta stack is hard to get to because it's so expensive these days, but they got it done. Even, with, say, a 9 point from Arica, 9 points from Olsen, and it's still enough just because they put up 6 runs and the White Sox 9. So Chris, 1028. Congrats to your 20K. Love to see it. Nice little lineup construction there. Now let's get into today's slate. As always, going into pitcher ownership. So pitching today is rough. One thing that is not on here, which will likely heavily change ownership, is the fact that Clayton Kershaw is expected to pitch today. So it hasn't fully been announced yet, but that is the current expectation. He is limited. He did not do a rehab start. He did simulated games and worked up to about 4 innings. So you can expect him probably to be limited to 60, 70 pitches today, but with how bad pitching is, I still might consider him. All right, so now Zach Little, 43%. He is super cheap. But like I said, pitching is bad today. He has an okay matchup. Cardinals are, decent, but at least he is at home. But he's been pitching good lately. 2.62 FIP over his last 5 starts, 3.37 over his last 20. He just doesn't have much K upside, but that is really a theme of pitching today as a whole there. So he's really just getting steamed up because he's, a decent pitcher and he's cheap. But he is also limited to, around 80-ish pitches probably. Next, we got James Paxton, also pretty much 43% owned. Now, this is probably my fade of the higher price guys. So the reason being, he hasn't been good lately. We got really good hitting conditions in Boston. There's also some weather, so, possible chance of delay during the game at some point. But 9.3K and his combined K rate's only 20%. Very hard for me to sign on to that. Also, when he hasn't been great lately, 5.67 FIP over his last 5, 20% K rate, when he usually has almost 28%. So something's going on with him, and I just don't know if I can follow the ownership with how he's been lately at his price. Next, we got Aaron Nola. So Aaron Nola is versus Washington. We know Nola has a little K upside, 25%, which is heavily down from what he usually has been at, where he's more like 28, 30-ish. But he's in a decent spot. Nationals aren't that good. Nola is much better at home. Combined K rate's 22%. The one thing Nationals do allow is they usually allow their pitcher, the starting pitcher, to go a little deeper into games. So that just gives you access to more points. If you're paying up, I think Nola is probably the pay up option. Next, we got Corbin, 30%. Corbin's somebody that we pick on all the time in DFS, and I need to bring this up. He has not been good in Philadelphia. All 4 starts versus Philadelphia last year, he got crushed, but especially crushed in Philly. 2001, crushed in Philly. 2020, crushed in Philly. He just has not been good in Philadelphia. This year, however, he is pitching better away than he is at home, but the BVP data, 143 plate attempts, they're hitting 336 off him. I might be a little surprised if Corbin has one of his, good games today. Can it happen? Absolutely. The Phillies strike out a decent amount, and as long as he's missing bats, he has a chance. If he's not missing bats, this is going to be a rough day for Corbin. All right, so Alec Marsh is the long reliever. He hasn't been great. You can absolutely consider him just because there is a little K upside. But once again, we have a situation where it's good hitting weather and he hasn't been good. So I don't know if I can really go there. Libator, again, no K upside. Yeah, he's cheap, but he's been bad. So I can't really recommend going there as well. The one other one that is on here that we haven't talked about yet, or, we've mentioned quickly, was Clayton Kershaw. With how bad pitching is, I think he's absolutely in play. He has a good matchup versus Colorado if he is the starter. He's just going to be limited, but, from what we're seeing, pitching's pretty rough today. So you might as well get a little different with pitching some way. We got to do FanDuel. So FanDuel ownership, we got Paxton, Nola, and Corbin. Pretty much the same thing. I think Nola's the one I would probably be playing out of this, or Kershaw possibly. Really hard for me to want to go to Corbin or Black. I just don't think they have enough upside there. All right, now let's get into some stack talk. So quickly, we do have a little bit of weather concern in both the Philadelphia game and Boston game. It does look like both will play, but there is some delay risk. Or what's going to happen is they play between 2 different rain bands. So highest owned stack today is the Red Sox, to no surprise. They're in a great spot. They got Austin Cox, and then they have Marsh, who hasn't been good, and good hitting weather. So no surprise everybody's going there. Now, our highest projected is the Dodgers, which I think are in an absolutely great spot. And the Dodgers, I actually kind of like more than Boston, and they're going a little bit lower owned. I also like the Royals, who are showing up on our higher projection ones. I think James Paxton hasn't been great lately, and it gives you a ton of leverage. They're not that high owned, so the Royals will be one of my targets. Now, if we go to the value stacks, we got KC, no surprise there. And ceiling wise, we have Dodgers, Royals. Nationals are sneaking in there, so Nationals are another leverage stack you could consider versus Nola. The leverage stacks are very interesting today on these small slates. You got to figure out how to get different somewhere. Tampa Bay is another interesting stack. Libator is not good, and they're not quite as high owned, so they could definitely go a little wild. Another team that is not popping up that I do need to talk about is the Phillies. We talked about them a little bit because of Patrick Corbin. Corbin's got crushed in Philly. That bullpen behind him isn't very good, so there is a definite chance that they could go nuts. And I think you will want to consider them as well. So my favorite stacks today: KC, Philadelphia, Dodgers. Probably won't get to much Boston just because I think they are way too high owned. Also want to get to a little bit of Tampa. All right, that will do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow with a full slate. That was a quick rundown today just because it's only 4 games. Just remember, you're going to need to get a little different. You don't want to be moving with the crowd on this slate. Play maybe a couple less lineups than you usually do and just get a little more different. So you don't care if you don't get anything back, as you really just want to get into that upper echelon of the leaderboard to have a chance to take it down. All right, guys, good luck. See you back tomorrow. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe to all our videos. It helps us out a ton. We'll see you guys. Adios.